Hey everybody, welcome back to the Court of Random Opinion. My name is Lauren Neidigh. This is my second stream of the morning, but it will not be the last, as there was yet another filing that came up as I was preparing for this stream. So I apologize for being late, but as soon as we're done with this one, I'm going to redirect you to that one. So let's get into it. Earlier, I read Stephanie Jones' motion to dismiss Jennifer Abel's counterclaims, which was explosive and dramatic. It was very petty in a lot of parts of it. If you missed that stream, you can always go to my YouTube channel and click on the live streams tab. We're going to read Stephanie Jones' motion to dismiss Wayfarer and Justin Baldoni's counterclaims now. We won't be reading it word for word because I have a feeling a lot of this is going to be having to do with contractual stuff, and I know the lawyers can explain that a lot better than I can. So we'll just go through kind of the meat of it and see what we think. How about it? Okay. 1 second. Somebody says they just got an Arby's commercial. I did not consent to that. All right. And I have posted these documents on Twitter. If you don't follow me, it's LethalLauren904. You can find them there. Or you can go to my YouTube page and click on the post tab. I post all the new documents there or in the comments of these videos. So I'm always just trying to make sure everybody has access to these things. It's just right now it's back to back to back to back, so it's a little hard. We've had since last night, so we had Blake Lively's support of her motion to dismiss. We had Blake and Ryan's letter to the judge. Then we had Stephanie Jones' motion to dismiss Abel's claims, Stephanie Jones' motion to dismiss Justin and Wayfarer's claims, and now Leslie Sloan writing to the judge and showing evidence of the interrogatories that they're fighting about. So, yeah. And thanks everyone for being here. I appreciate you. Thank you, mods. All right. I also cranked out a couple videos this morning that'll be scheduled for a little bit later, just doing short recaps of some of these things. So, all right. This is only 28 pages, so it's not going to be too long. All right. Wayfarer's counterclaims are devoid of any footing in the law or reality, that is just so stupid, and serve only as a transparent vehicle to vent Wayfarer's anger over the exposure of its co-founder Justin Baldoni's well-publicized sexual harassment of co-star Blake Lively and Wayfarer's own direct involvement in the retaliatory vindictive smear campaign that followed. God, Stephanie Jones. I can't say that word this early in the stream or YouTube will get mad at me. But you know what I'm going to say. All right. Irate, not about Baldoni's wrongdoing, but that it was widely covered in the press, Wayfarer now seeks to punish those who brought the truth to light, baldly and improperly pinning the blame on JonesWorks and its founder, Stephanie Jones, under the false pretext of alleged leaks. But far from a victim, Wayfarer was a principal actor in a covert, calculated scheme to not only sabotage Lively in the press, but also JonesWorks from within, colluding with a rogue employee and ultimately jumping ship without justification and refusing to pay JonesWorks in violation of plain contractual commitments. Wayfarer's counterclaims seek to deflect the spotlight from its starring role alongside former JonesWorks employee Jennifer Abel in a coordinated effort to further its severe damage to JonesWorks business, defame Jones, and induce the breach of multiple contracts. Jesus. And in Jennifer Abel's Stephanie Jones' counter to Jennifer Abel, she did address the subpoena issue, stating that there was a valid subpoena. She's apparently been shopping that around to news outlets since last night, and I say news outlets lightly because the Daily Mail, they're a little sketchy, as I've come to learn. And also, she said basically that even if she did leak something before the subpoena, was issued, it's basically protected under the law, like some sort of reporting law that I'm sure the lawyers will go over. And I'm just kind of like, that's bullshit. But okay. Okay. And I'll also do a short recap of that. So even pausing to consider Wayfarer's counterclaims on their own terms reveals that they do not approach stating a viable claim for relief. Wayfarer's breach of contract counterclaim primarily rests on specious allegations that Jones and JonesWorks leaked confidential information in breach of the services agreement between Jones and Wayfarer. This fails on numerous fronts. First, there was no leak. Sure. Confidential information, as defined in the agreement, excludes information which is or later becomes publicly available through no wrongful act of company. That is exactly what occurred here. Your timeline's a little off there. Information was produced pursuant to a subpoena that, by all accounts, seems to have been issued sometime after you leaked this information. But okay. Wayfarer willfully avoids this reality to advance its publicity-seeking leak narrative, but it cannot change the subpoena. You don't have to change the subpoena. The subpoena was issued after you already did something wrong. Second, Wayfarer admits in its counterclaims that the information produced was Abel's private communications, not Wayfarer's confidential information. This alone is self-defeating of its breach of contract claim. Third, Wayfarer's false allegations are hopelessly vague as Wayfarer fails to allege what any purported confidential information actually was. This is for good reason. Under no construction could information exposing a vindictive sexual harassment and retaliation conspiracy primarily orchestrated by Abel and Melissa Nathan working to bury and destroy Lively constitute Wayfarer information subject to protection. God, you're a cunt. Finally, Wayfarer's counterclaims attempt to wield the confidentiality provision of the services agreement between Jonesworks and Wayfarer to suppress disclosures concerning Lively's harassment at the hands of Wayfarer's co-founder, as well as the company's own role in the ensuing retaliation campaign. While punishing Jones and Jonesworks for cooperating with a legal process that brought those facts to light. This effort is squarely prohibited by the Federal Speak Out Act, so this is the thing I was talking about from the last filing, which prohibits the enforcement of pre-dispute non-disclosure clauses in matters involving sexual harassment and retaliation, and accordingly renders the confidentiality clause of the Wayfarer agreement unenforceable. Okay, so the problem with that is there was no sexual harassment. So whatever the fuck you're trying to say here doesn't matter. The irony is thick. Wayfarer does not deny the public scrutiny of Baldoni due to his mistreatment of women, the ensuing smear campaign against Lively in the wake of such mistreatment, and the public reporting the smear campaign in its genesis. It does not take issue with Baldoni's gross mistreatment of Lively. First of all, even if that weren't like some fantasy land that you're living in where he actually did anything to her, what does that have to do with you? Instead, Wayfarer cries foul that the campaign came to light and seeks to punish and retaliate against Jones and Jonesworks for compelled disclosures. This effort to chill disclosure, shift blame, and distance itself from its own conduct and co-founders' blatant harassment is offensive. You don't want to talk to me about offensive right now. Wayfarer and Baldoni must be held to account for their acts, and their agreement with Jonesworks cannot overcome the law to prevent that. So this footnote here says, as Jones and Jonesworks contemporaneously filed motion to dismiss the Abel counterclaims makes clear, Abel had no right or expectation of privacy in the communications from her company phone, nor were the communications revealing multiple smear campaigns private or personal communications. Okay, and that's where your delusion comes into play, because those weren't smear campaigns. You could certainly argue, and I think there is a case to be argued, that Abel breached her contract and that she took information from Jonesworks that she shouldn't have before she left, and you guys can fight that out in court. But there was no smear campaigns. You cherry-picking messages and trying to create a puzzle with a new picture on it, okay, that doesn't make the fact that people don't like you, that people don't like Blake, whoever, okay, that doesn't make it a smear campaign. Jesus. Okay. This person is and I'm always, because I don't work in law, guys. I work in psych and I work in healthcare. I'm always harping on how people misuse the word delusional and people misinterpret delusional and stuff like that. And when people are just lying, right? This chick might actually be delusional. She might be a little bit of both. She seems legit crazy. I don't know, man. Okay. I'm not impressed with her lawyers for writing this, but whatever. Wayfarer and Baldoni must be held to account for their acts, and their agreement with Jonesworks cannot overcome the law to prevent that. All right. Wayfarer also alleges that Jones failed to render services in a professional manner and in accordance with Wayfarer's goals, despite the counterclaims themselves making it clear that Jones worked tirelessly on Baldoni and Wayfarer's behalf to pursue a positive agenda in seeking to counteract negative press about Baldoni. Press that stemmed from Baldoni's own wrongdoing, which Wayfarer even admits was unbeknownst to Jones at the time. Wayfarer's breach of contract claim also fails because it unilaterally and wrongfully purported to terminate the very agreement it now accuses Jones and Jonesworks of breaching. In August 2024, months before the agreement's end date, Wayfarer purported to cut ties with Jonesworks without providing the requisite notice or opportunity to cure, and then ceased paying its monthly fees to Jonesworks in blatant violations of its contractual obligations. Its counterclaim hinges on the legally untenable theory that its own non-performance was excused, despite offering no factual allegations establishing a material breach by Jones or Jonesworks that could remotely justify such termination or non-performance. In short, Wayfarer has failed to plausibly plead a breach of contract claim to withstand a Rule 12b6 motion to dismiss. Wayfarer's implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing counterclaim fares no better. It is duplicative of its breach of contract claim, premised on the exact same factual allegations, and it invents an implied duty that does not exist. Wayfarer has not alleged that the agreement was not performed in good faith. Instead, Wayfarer has alleged a misguided breach of contract claim which fails for the parade of reasons set forth above and herein. Under well-settled New York law, a separate implied covenant claim must be dismissed. Wayfarer's counterclaims are not just meritless, they are retaliatory. They are a shameless attempt to create the classic smokescreen and shift the limelight from Wayfarer and its CEO's bad acts. Wayfarer actively participated in and facilitated a campaign to destroy Lively, Jones, and Jonesworks, and now seeks to evade their legal obligations to Jones and Jonesworks through faulty counterclaims. Wayfarer's gambit should not be countenanced, and the court should dismiss the counterclaims with prejudice. Just reading that short paragraph at the end there, the fact that these people think anyone wants anything other than to get the fuck away from them is amazing. Jesus. Can I see who's here even if they don't speak? Why? I don't want to answer that. Why? All right. Factual background, and this is where we're going to start skimming some. So, Jonesworks, they're talking about who that is, who is Wayfarer. They went into their written services agreement. Okay. They're talking about their agreement some more. Explaining more about the agreement, and like I said, guys, I've already posted these, but I'll link to them in the description of this as well later on. And we also went over that in... sorry, I've got weird text. I also went over that in the last filing in this series that we read, so I'm not going to word for word read over it again. Okay. In mid-2024, Jonesworks and Jones were providing public relations services for Wayfarer and Baldoni in connection with a forthcoming movie, It Ends With Us, starring and directed by Baldoni and produced by Wayfarer. As the premiere drew closer, Wayfarer and Baldoni found themselves in a PR crisis, with news outlets speculating about possible tension between Lively and Baldoni, fueled in part by the It Ends With Us cast unfollowing Baldoni on social media. We know all that. We know Abel was the point person for them. Although not running point, Jones regularly participated in meetings, calls, and written correspondence. She was basically asked not to. They were basically like, please don't do anything. We don't want you. You could see that in their counterclaim document. Go see it for yourself. Jones, however, was pursuing a positive agenda. Well, that's some... While unbeknownst to her, Abel and Melissa Nathan were running a shadow campaign for Wayfarer and Baldoni to take down Lively. Hey, Bruce, what's going on? On August 8th, a reporter from the Daily Mail informed Abel and Jones that she was working on a story surrounding the recent rumors, and we've read a lot about that, so I'm going to skim that. Jones thereafter informed Wayfarer CEO Jamie Heath and Baldoni via email that she left word for the reporter, having returned a missed call believed to be, but not in fact, the reporter's. Jones never called or connected with the Daily Mail reporter. Jones' press strategy focusing on promoting positive narratives, however, was not aligned with Wayfarer's secret agenda of taking down Lively. God, this is like the opposite of reality. Like, what's going on here? All right. Sorry, I'm just trying to see if we need to read this or not. Accordingly, Wayfarer and Baldoni told Jones to stand down, while Abel and Nathan, whom Baldoni had hired to manage his crisis public relations, falsely informed Sony, the studio distributing It Ends With Us, and Leslie Sloan, Lively's publicist, that Jones had leaked information and was communicating negatively to media. This was objectively false, as Jones confirmed at the time to Wayfarer's president, Tara Hanks, she never leaked any information about Baldoni or Wayfarer to the Daily Mail or any other outlet. Nevertheless, falsely accused and seeking to quash the perpetuation of a false narrative, Jones naturally contacted Sony to inform them that she did not do so. You sound guilty. I mean, all right. That's okay. Throughout August 2024, and as coverage of the apparently strained relationship between Baldoni and the It Ends With Us cast continued to mount, Jones advised Wayfarer on a positive approach in navigating the public relations fallout, particularly given that, in her view, Baldoni was not being represented in these stories, as she informed Hanks. She told Hanks that accordingly they have to fight for every story. Jones also told Hanks that she never leaked anything to any outlet, and even sent Hanks her phone records to show that she did not call the Daily Mail or any other media source. Jones reiterated that her goal was to help Baldoni and Wayfarer. Come on, lady. What, did you use someone else's phone? Like, really? Like, who just volunteers all that for no reason? Jesus. This... I don't know. It just seems too sketchy to me, dude. Consistent with the agreement and the services provided by JonesWorks thereunder, Jones emailed Heath a recommended media strategy. Jones proposed, among other things, flooding the zone with positives to ensure that we promote positive narratives that media outlets cannot ignore. And as word of Baldoni's harassment towards Lively continued to spread, including in an August 14th TMZ article titled "Blake Lively Felt Justin Baldoni Fat-Shamed Her, Kissed Too Long During Scene," Jones offered to contact Harvey Levin, I don't know if it's Levin or Levin, the founder of TMZ, to get this story fixed/removed if Melissa cannot. In furtherance of the goal of working as a team and collectively to tackle the stories, Heath, having adopted the opposite covert strategy to smear Lively, Jesus, rejected Jones' recommendations and thereafter emailed Jones instructing that she not respond, contact, or do anything as it pertains to Justin or Wayfarer. Yeah, because she had already done so much bullshit. They're like, we don't want your help. You're not helping. What you're doing is not helpful. Like, why don't you just do what your client asks? She used a Mint mobile burner phone. Oh, man. All right. On August 21st, Abel was terminated. In August 2024, Wayfarer purported to unilaterally terminate the agreement, advising JonesWorks that the termination would be effective as of the end of August. Their notice did not provide a legitimate reason for terminating the agreement or cite to any provision of the agreement that was purportedly breached. Okay. And here's the legal standard where we're going to skim over a lot of stuff. Argument 1, Wayfarer's breach of contract counterclaim should be dismissed for failure to state a claim. A, Wayfarer fails to plausibly allege any breach by plaintiffs. Okay. Wayfarer's counterclaims assert in conclusory fashion that JonesWorks breached the agreement by sharing Wayfarer confidential information and failing to follow unspecified instructions. Both breach theories rest on pure conjecture and speculation with allegations that are too vague and specious to state a claim. Okay. For one, Wayfarer does not identify a single piece of concrete confidential information Jones or JonesWorks allegedly improperly disclosed. I would beg to differ, but okay. Or how any such disclosure constituted a breach of any contractual language. And allegations concerning Jones and JonesWorks' purported misuse of Wayfarer's confidential information and Wayfarer's sprawling counterclaims are sparse. In sum, Wayfarer alleges that Jones had apparently gone through Abel's phone and shared confidential information relating to Wayfarer and Baldoni with Sloan and other third parties. Wayfarer never states what exactly this purportedly confidential information was, which in and of itself is fatal to its breach of contract claim. So it's interesting because she's like, no, I totally didn't do that, but at the same time, she's explaining why it was totally okay for her to do that a couple pages earlier. So, all right. What is clear from Wayfarer's counterclaims is that Jones did not leak any confidential information to third parties or the press. Wayfarer pleads nothing concrete to the contrary. You're insane. Okay. Wayfarer also fails to tether any alleged disclosure to the language of the agreement. The agreement's confidentiality provision is narrowly drawn. It obligates JonesWorks only to use reasonable and diligent efforts to keep confidential information confidential. So does sharing that with the eventual opposing party in this lawsuit, does that fall under the agreement? Lady, come on. Wayfarer never alleges that any disclosure fell outside these limits. Okay, sure. Wayfarer's fallback allegation of breach, that Jones and JonesWorks somehow breached the agreement by failing to follow instructions. Well, that's certainly true. Fares no better and does not salvage its claim. The counterclaim offers no detail about what instructions were purportedly given, who gave them, when, or in what context, how Jones or JonesWorks did not follow them, and how this constituted a breach of the agreement. Well, they said they didn't want your help, basically, and you kept trying to insert yourself, so I feel like that's something. Wayfarer does not allege any facts intimating that JonesWorks failed to perform its services in a professional manner, or that it disregarded any mutually established goals. Nor does it identify a single deliverable deadline or metric of performance that JonesWorks allegedly failed to meet. B. Wayfarer fails to plausibly allege any harm it suffered. Okay. I'm not even entertaining that. Wayfarer's theory of harm is too attenuated, indirect, and speculative to satisfy this standard. At best, the counterclaims hint at, but do not actually allege, the following hopelessly attenuated daisy chain of purported causation. 1. Negative media coverage about Wayfarer or its principals appeared in the press. 2. The press was based on unspecified information now claimed to be confidential. 3. That information was disclosed by Jones and or JonesWorks. And 4. The disclosure thereby causing some level of unspecified harm. But Wayfarer does not actually allege this, let alone with a requisite particularity. One sec. Sorry, I just had to fix something real quick. Okay. The pleading does not identify a single article, statement, or news item containing allegedly harmful information. It does not quote, summarize, or even describe the substance of the supposed press coverage, nor does it allege how the content was false, damaging, or traceable to Jones or JonesWorks. It's... Even more telling is what Wayfarer does not allege. It does not claim lost revenue, lost opportunities, increased costs, reputational decline tied to specific events, or any other identifiable economic or actual injury. These omissions are dispositive. Okay. C, even if Wayfarer plausibly alleged breach, which it has not, The Speak Out Act bars enforcement of the confidentiality clause. And this is what's relating to the stuff that, like, she supposedly would have leaked to Sloan and Blake Lively, before the subpoena was ever issued or enforced. Okay. Assuming arguendo that Wayfarer has plausibly alleged a breach of the agreement's confidentiality provision, which it has not, including because there was a subpoena, its claim fails as a matter of law because enforcement of that provision is barred under the Speak Out Act. That statute provides, with respect to a dispute involving sexual assault or harassment, no non-disclosure clause or non-disparagement clause agreed to before the dispute arises shall be judicially enforceable. Except this didn't involve any actual sexual assault or harassment. This reflects Congress's determination that such provisions punish the survivor and protect the perpetrator who is set free to abuse and abuse and abuse again. Well, by all means, that would mean you would get off, right? Jesus. I'm so sick of these people invoking these sexual harassment protections for, like, actual people who have been victims of sexual assault and harassment. All you had to do was sit down in your cushy house with your huge salary and shut the fuck up. But no, you're vindictive and angry, and so you cherry-pick text messages, try to fabricate some weird smear campaign shadow agenda, and then put that out to the press. Hey, Rob, what's up? P says they got the subpoena in October. She leaked the text to Leslie in August. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. The act is designed not only to protect direct victims, but to ensure that witnesses, employees, and third parties are not contractually gagged from participating in investigations, complying with subpoenas, or exposing retaliatory conduct that seeks to chill lawful speech about abuse. Well, you don't fall into any of those categories. We're not gonna call names again. We're gonna go the rest of the stream without calling names, which means I'm gonna do a lot of skimming. What Wayfarer seeks to do here is precisely what the statute prohibits: punish Jones and Jonesworks for complying with legal process and bringing to light the extent of Baldoni's harassment of Lively and Wayfarer's role in retaliating against Lively. Wayfarer's allegations establish that its dispute with plaintiffs arises in large part from Baldoni's own conduct on the set of It Ends With Us, including his sexual harassment of co-star Lively. Wayfarer's counterclaims concede that during a period of intense public scrutiny, Wayfarer faced press inquiries into Baldoni's behavior, including accusations that he fat-shamed Lively, kissed her too long during a scene, and acted inappropriately. The allegations were at the core of a reputational crisis, one Wayfarer tried to suppress. Maybe if they had a decent publicist, they wouldn't have had to go through all that, just saying. Right. Wayfarer does not deny that Baldoni was facing public scrutiny due to his mistreatment of women, nor does it deny Baldoni, Wayfarer, Nathan, and Abel's smear campaign against Lively in the wake of such mistreatment. Wayfarer does not deny that Baldoni was facing public scrutiny due to his mistreatment of women. Fuck you. Alright guys, there's a new letter out. I'm going to end this stream right now because I'm not reading any more of that bullshit. And I'll read you the new letter that just came out this morning. Seriously. Stephanie, fuck you.